Hey guys, Crave here, and I'm not sure whether this is going to be a long or short upload, but I just wanted to talk about the recent issue with Activision-Blizzard and Blitzchung. Now, I didn't think it would get to me, but it did. For example, the other day I had about 2 hours to play some Classic or BFA, but I couldn't get myself to hit the play button. I got over it eventually the next day and played for about 30 minutes, but it was always a lingering thought in my head. Until now, I've been thinking about the whole fiasco. Basically, what happened is that Activision Blizzard banned a Hearthstone player or tournament player over speaking his mind around the current Hong Kong issues. Blitzchung did this over a stream with 2 casters who appeared to be unaware of his intentions. Now, I'm not Chinese, so I didn't understand what the casters were saying, but it looks like they didn't want to be part of it based on their reactions. Sure enough, it wasn't the proper place to voice his opinion, and Blitzchung got taken off air immediately. I agree it wasn't the right venue as it had nothing to do with the game, but I suppose I'd call it the heavy-handedness of Blizzard's punishment is what really got to me. At least it was the first thing that got to me. After going through some websites, YouTube content like those from Yongye and Reddit, I found out that I wasn't the only one thinking that the company's reaction was a bit harsh. I especially felt for the casters who were fired for being, I would say, collateral damage in the whole debacle. It's obvious that Activision Blizzard's motivation was more than for just keeping the rules of the tourney, but it was to protect their current and future interests in the China market. Blizzard China released a post around it, and while translations haven't been verified, it's weird that an American company would post a pro-China stance. I suppose it may have been in the best interest of the employees there, for those Activision employees there in China, but it was still a very off statement to make. I feel bad for Blitzchung and those casters. Their careers are in jeopardy because Activision Blizzard's interests were more important to the company than for their well-being. Don't get me wrong, I'm not an idealist and I do understand the importance of profit. Again, it's just the severity of the punishment that's a problem for me, at least one of the problems. It didn't fit what happened, and it included individuals who weren't really in on it. At least that's from what I saw. At least I didn't think the casters were in on what Blitzchung was doing. You can also see from this how much Activision Blizzard values the Chinese market, and that's understandable. It is a sizable and powerful market. It also shows that Blizzard would, I guess rather, I could say tiptoe around them just to make sure they don't offend the market or the government. And I suppose this just really adds up to the recent issue, non-gaming issue around the NBA and the Houston Rockets franchise. Basically, right now, they're trying to appease the same market. And this is just another great example of this. There's a second big thing that really bothers me about this whole fiasco. We already see it in publishers like EA, where they try to push games as a service formats. And recently, Ubisoft attempted to release Breakpoint, which was funny because the way it happened, it looked more like a storefront rather than a game when you try to check out what they were trying to do. There were also rumors, and these are just rumors, that Modern Warfare might go the pay-to-win route with loot drops, but that was never confirmed, or at least I never saw any official statement from Infinity Ward. With the recent Activision Blizzard fiasco, it seems that the company is willing to compromise more than necessary to appease the undeniably strong market. When you look at history, Activision isn't the only company who shifted stances just to enter China. Just Google whichever industry, or just look for industries, Google them, whichever companies actually tried to play nice just to enter the lucrative market. Now, going back to the issue, what I'm also worried about is that what if companies like Tencent further increases their influence more than what we're seeing now? Now, they could further sway the earning methods of publishers and game developers. Now, I mentioned earlier that EA was already doing this, Ubisoft attempted this. Now, we could see, because of, the influence of the Chinese market, the Chinese companies, we could see less and less fully featured games, and more of these micro transactions garbage could fill our storefronts. And that's not really good for gaming. Can you imagine if a greedy publisher or a third party had an influential stake on a company like CD Projekt Red? The Witcher 3 might have turned out differently, or upcoming games like Cyberpunk would be at risk of being less pure, or the upcoming The Outer Worlds from Obsidian would be in danger of being a mess. We'd see less complete games and more of these games as a service formats. We'd probably see pop-ups in-game reminding us to constantly check out some store item. Basically, there'd be less value for each game we purchase in the future. Now, I could go on and on, but I think you guys get it. There's a lot at stake here, and I do wish people would continue to discuss it. It's nice that politicians are involved, as future effects should be taken into consideration. As I mentioned, there's also this importance of free speech. That being curtailed is always a bad thing. But for fellow gamers, I just want to say this, just take it easy on your reactions, and let's not go after people who might not have any control over the situation. Take, for example, this tweet. I do understand the sentiment behind it, and I honestly also saw the humor. I laughed for a bit. But these support people are just doing their jobs to help out. So let's not attack them, whether directly or indirectly. They're doing what they're supposed to do, while the higher ups, do whatever the hell they're doing. Anyway, 2019 has been an interesting and disgusting year for gaming so far. It's probably wishful thinking that this is the last bit of bad news. Yeah, I doubt it. But anyway, thanks for watching this, and I'll talk to you soon.